Okay, today's January 15th of 2024, and it's Martin it's Martin Luther King's Day. It's cold and snowing outside, but I had to come into the studio. One of the commitments that I made was try to film something every single week, and I'm here because for the sake of being consistent because every single week I do want to put out a video. I'm going to miss some weeks, who knows, but my goal is to kind of be consistent when making these videos. I don't want to be here, I'll be honest with you. I'm feeling a little drained emotionally, and I don't actually want to do this, but I feel like I must do this. Right now I'm still working really hard on the studio, and I'll be honest, it's taxing, it's draining. And it was a challenge to get into the studio today because of all the snow. And my car, it's rear wheel drive, so it doesn't exactly work the best in slippery climates, let's say. Anyway, I want to be more consistent. And I'm not going to sit here going on a rant, but I will address one thing that kind of held me back this week. I went down the rabbit hole of watching a lot of politically charged content on YouTube. And the way the algorithm works is that when you watch something, they'll just feed you more of that stuff. And then I realized, okay, this is the same thing I warned everyone last week about, which is there's going to be a lot of political noise in the upcoming weeks. This is an election year. Well, I mean, we're going next year, but you're going to see a lot of political candidates come up there and talk their talking points. They're going to talk about their sides. Some will bash the other side, and we're going to get a lot of noise from the media telling us who to pick, who to be angry about, what topics we should be angry at, get us all fired up, whether it's about war, whether about, I don't even get, I'm even afraid to even say anything right now because I don't want to get canceled. But they're going to make us worry about things we didn't worry about before. We haven't talked about anything for quite frankly, the past 3 years. And I'm not here to make a political statement. All I'm saying is just open your eyes and see that there's a lot of nonsense that we shouldn't be worrying about and talking about. And that's why I kept thinking, you know what? I wasted a lot of my time watching this stuff because there are things that I need to do here at the studio, here at work. This is my primary source of income, and I can't sustain this place just selling t-shirts every week, because that's what I did last week. I sold like another $100 in t-shirts, but that's not going to sustain the studio because that's more of a side gig, but this is not a t-shirt making company. Well, luckily I was able to teach a photography workshop last week on the principles of photography. And right afterwards, Greg came by and we took pictures of the studio. We were able to kind of demonstrate all the different ways you can do a podcast here at Verax Studio. This is the one I'm doing just because it's comfortable. I have my recording device right here to the right of me. I have the microphone. I'm sitting on my sofa. I'm using this background that you'll see in other people's podcasts, and I'm not the first person to use it. So it's pretty common. You can just get this background at Home Depot. And I put a $40 plant that I got from Home Goods. But I wanted to demonstrate all the different ways that I can use this space for podcasting and how you can kind of change it up. Excuse me. The weather. But I want people to come in here and realize that there's other options. I could put a green screen back here. I could put different color backgrounds. And it made me feel really efficient because I was able to take those photos, publish them on my website, and I also registered for Peerspace, which is another platform for space rental. So that really made me feel that I was somewhat efficient last week. I like to feel that I'm being productive. I like to feel that I'm being efficient. I feel like I don't want to confuse movement for progress. The goal is to progress the studio forward, and I don't want to confuse movement for progress. So even if I clean up after a gig, okay, that's a lot of movement and it takes a lot of work, but that's not necessarily progress. Well, this week, I'm looking forward to a major event on Thursday down in Richmond. So I have to prepare that the night before because I got to get to Richmond at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm not a morning person, but I got to get there at like 7 o'clock in the morning. So I have to prepare for that. Anyway, that's what's coming up this week, and that's the main focus of this week. But the other thing I kept thinking about was starting an actual podcast. I have the equipment. I have the ideas. I actually recorded several different podcasts before. I just never released them and I never posted them because I wasn't really proud of them. And I think that's the other thing is, I'm kind of overthinking this podcast thing, and I find myself overthinking a lot of things because I want things to be perfect. But there's another saying that done is better than perfect, and I have to stop obsessing over the idea of getting every little detail perfect and just get it done. There are kids out there with cell phones that are publishing more than me, and the other thing is, even as I'm filming these things and I'm posting them on YouTube. Yes, I am actually monetized on YouTube. So I get, the fact that you've watched this video this far, I've probably made, a couple quarters, but it's not about the money. It's really not. One thing that's really powerful about these videos is that I'm gathering data. Data is more important to me than money. Money is important, don't get me wrong, but I think data is more important. Because if I'm able to gather data, I can make moves and I can make adjustments, and that's going to lead to more income. That's going to lead to more exposure. That's going to lead to more gigs and more content. Just that's the thing. I need to find the data because I just don't know. I don't have all the answers. I can Google and YouTube, questions about how to get more subscribers and how to, finesse the system, if you will. But part of me wants to do it in an organic way. I want you to be here because you want to be here, and I don't want to just fool the algorithm so that people are here. But I talked to my friend Nicole. She once said, "You have to make one video for your soul, and then one video for the algorithm." That's how YouTube works. And if I'm going to continue to use this as a platform, which I intend to, then I need to kind of finesse the system a little bit as well. Right now, I'm just, I'm talking, right? Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm just talking to you. If you were a friend and you were in the room, these are the things I say. And if anyone who knows me, I tend to talk a lot. And, in a way, this is kind of just a conversation. I realize that I need to stop doubting myself. I find a lot of my doubt ingrained in the idea of my worry of what are people thinking about me? What are they thinking about me? What are they going to say? What is my family going to say? See, I have some some family members that I'm think like, if this shows up, does that make them look bad? Because I'm representing them. Is that going to make them look bad? And I also worry about my church. Is this going to be church appropriate? Is my church community going to look at me if I say something that's not great, or that's I like to talk about some type of polarizing topic, because I also want to appear because I also know if I represent them, I need to present myself in a certain way as well. Then I also think about, like, what's the point of putting this information out there, and why do I need to do it? So there's a couple things that I've been kind of wrestling with or toying with the idea of, and I'm being more and more inclined to say, screw it, I'm just going to do it. One of them is I wanted to put out essentially the blueprint for my business as a studio director. I own a photo studio. I own a quite large photo studio for being just the solo guy. I have a warehouse space that I think a lot of people would love to have. And I'm not just working out of my basement. And I'm able to, kind of survive. And I have been surviving for close to 4 years now with the space. And I thought about doing that, but people don't realize that, and the things I preach about is working in the business and working on the business. There's two sides of business. But the reason why I also hesitate to put out those things is because I'm not doing 100% the greatest. Like, I have my ups, I have my downs, and I just want to be authentic. And sometimes if I talk about these things, even if I realize what I'm talking about is the truth, then I'm kind of thinking like, well, are you actually following what you're talking about? Are you practicing what you preach? So that's one thing I'm worried about. And that also includes talking about money. Money is a very touchy subject with people. It's a very touchy subject. And there's so many great, YouTubers out there like Chris Doe that talks about monetizations of business. And I'm like, like, how am I able to actually talk about these subjects better than they can? I don't know. And the other thing I thought about talking about was photography, photography, video, the principles of all these things, and share as part of the syllabus that I teach online. But then I also think about is like, well, what's the purpose? Is it for like 1,000 views? Is it for 100,000 views? Like, why am I giving away? Why would I want to give away information that has taken me quite literally years to obtain, and decades of just learning and practicing and failing and doing it over and over again? I don't know. I simply don't know if people actually want to hear from me. I also thought about talking about things in the dance scene because, as some of you may know, I'm part of the greater dance community. And I'm so afraid to get canceled from that club too. So it's really difficult to kind of speak on those topics. Maybe I have people come in and I can really utilize all the different types of microphones we have here. But anyway, like I said in the beginning, I'm drained emotionally, and I'm just doing this because I'm trying to check a box. I'll be honest. I am trying to check a box. I'm trying to get through this because there's other things I need to do on my computer, and I have to finish cleaning up the studio. I have to finish cleaning up the loft. I have to finish organizing all the different things I have in the drawers, because if someone actually decides to rent the studio, I need to make sure that all my equipment is secure, the place is safe, the place is clean and organized for the next person. Thank you guys for listening up to this point. Hopefully next week I'll be feeling a little bit better and more charged emotionally. Like I didn't get a chance to get a haircut because the place I normally get my haircut was closed, so I didn't even get a chance to get a haircut. And that's one other thing I stopped worrying about is like what I look like on these podcasts. I'll deal with that stuff later. I don't lean in with that. Anyway, guys, bye.